up, guys? My name is Lyndon. I'm so excited to be talking about this. I didn't know how to formulate my thoughts, so this is pretty much going to be off the dome, no script, no anything. I just want to give you my overall thoughts of One Piece chapter 1033, as well as briefly touch on 1032. But I just want to get into it because I'm so excited about this chapter. This, to me, is probably the best Wano chapter, and you can fight me on it, whatever. I'm just going to start this off by just saying that I believe this is the best Wano chapter we've gotten the entire arc. So, in this review, I just want to talk real quick. What makes, I don't know what adjective I need to use to describe this chapter because there's so many things. You got amazing, you got fantastic, you got all this. I think this is just, simply put, a beautiful chapter. Honestly, I'm a big Zoro fan. I'm more or less, yeah. I feel like I'm not as big a fan of One Piece as I should be. I have figures and memorabilia, clothing and stuff like that. But I'm really a big fan of just certain Straw Hats moments and stuff like that. Either way, just this chapter and Zoro getting more information about his backstory as well as more information about cursed swords. It's just phenomenal. Anyway, so let's get into it. So anyway, we pick up where we left off, sort of, from 1032. And in 1032, we continue to fight with King versus Zoro, which is turned out to be the best Zoro fight, bar none. It's better than Mr. One versus Zoro, better than Kaku versus Zoro, better than Ryuma versus Zoro. I'm going to be real with you. Because King is just steadily getting more and more and more and more impressive. Every feat, he tanked a Dragon Twister. In this chapter, he just doing the most. And even though he's got these weird attacks and he's just basically playing with his food at this point, I respect him so much more as a character. In any case, we pick up from where we left off with the sword Enma basically drawing out more of Zoro's haki and causing him more trouble than, benefiting him, as it were. Think of it handicapping himself, like a handcuffing him to some sort of weight or whatever. So anyway, Zoro basically does what he normally does. He flexes and takes his haki back from Enma. And he's confused, why is Enma doing this? And he's just really not angry. I think he's just confused. And King takes this opportunity to basically flex on him. So he flies up to Zoro, and Zoro uses for the longest time I can't remember off top of my head Zoro using a thrusting attack. I know he uses a lot of slashes and a lot of air slices, but I don't think I can remember him using any piercing or jabbing attacks with his swords. But he uses one on King, and King just takes it. He just, okay, cool. And he blows up. I don't know what that's about, but, I'm all for it. King's just becoming more interesting. He's becoming even more, he's probably, to me, the most interesting Beast Pirate member. I know people love Queen. Not for me. I like King. I just like his personality. I like his design. Everything about him is so cool. So he blows up. This causes Zoro to, fumble back for a minute, but he blocked it with his haki, which is fantastic. That Zoro had that kind of reflexes, on some Goku shit, where he basically outran the explosion, as it were. So anyway, Zoro decides to stop playing these games, and he uses his strongest one-sword attack. At least I think it's the strongest. I think the fan base agrees it's his strongest one-sword attack, which is the Shishi Song Song, or the Lion Song. So Zoro uses it, and King tanks it. And this is something that's just insane to me. I'm not sure how other fans feel about this, but King is taking not only an Onigiri, he is taking, a Purgatory Onigiri, but he is taking a Black Rope Dragon Twister and a Lion Song. Those are the three. You can argue in the comments, whatever. You can argue about it, but those are the three most powerful techniques that Zoro has used in his arsenal, bar none. Every fan knows those are three techniques that almost no one gets up from. Even his strongest opponents don't get up from, the Lion Song. In any case, the King tanks it, and then he uses that weird face catapult thing he does where he pulls his face back and launches it. Zoro barely dodges it, but it kind of scuffs him up a little bit, and then King does a Sanji move, and he super kicks him, fire super kicks Zoro, and it just causes more damage. So Zoro almost falls off the island. So he sees the Sandai Katetsu flying off the island. He grabs it, and King just really more confused, you wouldn't save the sword? That's insane to me. What are you doing? So in any case, we pick up, in this chapter, we get more backstory as to, Zoro's history with the swords, as well as his history with, everything going on in Shimotsuki Village. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. His village, his hometown. And now, granted, I know a lot of people are going to say that Zoro's backstory wasn't very fleshed out. It's not like Sanji's, Luffy's, or any other Straw Hat's backstory, which is true. Zoro's never been one of those characters to really have that needed to be all his information to be out in Front Street. I think that Zoro's whole like gimmick or whatever's like everything that's good about Zoro is that he's the strong silent type. He is stoicism in character form. He just moves forward. He doesn't let little things draw him down. He gets frustrated like everybody, but then he basically remains cool and just handles situations. So to see this side of Zoro, I know a lot of fans are going to be super hyped because more Zoro lore, everybody loves it. So then we find out that Kozaburo, Shimotsuki Kozaburo, did in fact like live around the time where Zoro was training at the dojo, and he actually interacted with Zoro, and we find out the origin of the word snatchy, and we also find the origin of Zoro's previous swords, like way back in the East Blue Saga. Remember before he fought with just two random not black swords, but two random black swords or black sheath swords that Mihawk destroyed instantly, and like those swords back in the day. So those swords Zoro actually originally got from Kozaburo. And Kozaburo gifted him that because he's like, hey, are you done practicing the dojo? Basically, it's like he sees something in Zoro. Maybe, there's, that famous Zoro is a Shimotsuki bloodline, whatever fan-based theory that's going around is true. When he sees something in Zoro, he starts explaining like what cursed blades are and like how they're not really cursed, how they're actually just powerful swords with their own will, and it's up to the swordsman to take hold of the sword and bend that sword to their will. Not break them, but bend the sword to their own will. So basically, hockeying up and flexing on the sword. So Zoro, in the middle of this whole like turmoil, getting beat up, battered by King left and right, and he just immediately just puts it together as Kozaburo announces to him like, yeah, well, these swords are not very great. They're kind of trash, but I actually made my magnum opus many years ago, and in fact, it was so good, I named it after the Lord of the Underworld. And he flashes forward, and it's Enma. And I think Zoro connects the dots and goes, Enma, the Lord of Hell, King of Hell. Done. And he basically puts two and two together where he's like, wait, it's not drawing my hockey out to like, to hinder me or, just because I'm not worthy or anything like that. He's drawing my hockey out to basically make me worthy. It sees strength in me and it wants to draw out my full potential. So instead of hindering it, I should let my hockey flow. And Zoro just proceeds to grab all three of his swords and let his hockey flow like fully. And it's so cool to me because, we already know he has Conqueror's Haki. The anime spoiled it, as well as, previous chapters with Kaido and versus Zoro, ZKK, all that nonsense. But now that, it's being confirmed, especially with the fodder that's around, that's like passing out from the Conqueror's Haki flare-up, it's just phenomenal. But that's basically the long and short of what happened in this chapter. I know it sounds like I'm jumping all over the place, but I really just want to get into the fact that this chapter is so fantastic, so beautiful because of the backstory we get behind not just Zoro, not just behind Shimotsuki Village or Kozaburo. It's all that, plus the fact that we get more information about cursed blades and the explanation that cursed blades aren't exactly what people think they are. And they're only considered cursed because weak men have wielded them and they weren't worthy of their power or their gift, as it were. And I think that's a really cool concept. I really like that, like being presented in this arc, because I felt like one of my biggest things with Wano as a whole, I felt like we had the samurai thing, but I just felt like the samurais weren't doing enough for me. And don't get me wrong, I love the scabbards, I love the Yakuza bosses and all that. I just feel like we were missing a huge chunk of what was going to make this whole arc was special. It's like the lore behind swords. I felt like we kept getting flickers of like, hey, that's an important sword. Hey, this is this and that, and Sword God Ryuma. But the fact that we get so much backstory as to how these swords work and what makes them so special, and the fact that Enma clearly has the ability to become like tremendously stronger, especially with Zoro in mind, because I felt like with Odin, like don't get me wrong, Odin's an actual absolute tank, but with Zoro, his ambition is a little bit further beyond what Odin's was. I feel like Odin didn't have the ambition to take Enma further than it, like as far as it wanted to go, but Odin was just so damn strong that Enma was like, okay, you're strong, I guess you can wield me. And I think that now now that it's with Zoro, it's gonna really expand its like horizon. It's gonna really grow as a, not a character, but as a weapon. And I love the fact that Inman was trying to tell it, and he basically was trying to tell all of us, like, hey, you have more to give. You have more to give. And I can't believe how blind I was, like, reading those chapters, like months ago, or like a year ago, maybe a year or two ago, where Zoro was training with Inman, like when he first got introduced to Inman, and how, like, oh, I was like, oh man, Zoro's going to just use it in the flex on. He's going to basically do what he did to his other swords, which is basically master them within like a couple days or a couple like short hours or whatever. But no, it's apparently it's more complicated than that, and I love that about this. And I don't have anything like I can just add to. I think this is a fantastic chapter. It's beautifully done. I love the lore. I love the fact that Zoro had more characterization, even though I don't think he really needed it. I just love the fact that we got so much in this chapter, and the fact that this is going to be, in my opinion, the best fight in Wano, bar none. I don't care what anybody says. Luffy versus Kaido is going to be great. Sanji versus Queen, going to be a great fight as well. And as well as the other fights going on with Big Mom and Kid-in-Law. But this fight to me is the pinnacle of what Wano was about. It is the pinnacle of what I wanted to see from the Year of Zoro, right? I want to see Zoro do Zoro shit. And I cannot wait for this fight to like heat up even more. I know that kind of sounds silly, especially with King as his opponent. But that's all I got to say. Thank you so very much for watching my video. If you like what I said, please leave a comment, a like, as well as subscribe to this channel. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you, and peace.